Bear with me as I toggle back and forth between some stuff. I will be also reading off of some material to keep me organized so that I'm covering the stuff that we want to make sure that you are hearing. So for some of us, we may have experience galore writing offers. And for some of us, we may have never written an offer before. And so this can be exciting. I think we can all learn something from today. And if nothing else, we can at least have good discussion on what we're seeing in today's market, like literally down to today, in terms of how quickly the market is progressing from when things hit the market to being off the market, and just take some real life situations and maybe field some questions towards the end about what you guys are seeing or having hurdles that you'd like to overcome. My name's, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Josh Nungesser. I'm a realtor and also a productivity coach. But my real estate production business, we sold 42 units last year with a goal of selling 80 this year. I do run a team, and we've got 2 young ladies that help me right now, and looking to expand that team to better service our community. The expectations for this session, guys, are just please participate. You don't want to hear me talk for an hour and a half or so. Again, this should not take 2 hours to get through the material. I did go through it already, and there's not 2 hours worth of material here, but with conversation that we can potentially have, we can definitely extend this. But just participate, please, and then take something away. If nothing else, take one nugget of information, one best practice away, because there's some really good minds on this call, and I think we all owe it to each other to learn. As we get started, so this is maybe not your first Ignite session that you've attended. Hopefully you've attended quite a few of these. They're meant to literally ignite your business. I know yesterday Julie taught on negotiations, which goes literally hand in hand with writing offers. So I'd love to hear from at least 1 or 2 people on what you have been grateful for so far in this new learning journey.
Hey, I'm grateful for the agents that have already been doing this, like yourself, that's willing to share and just be an open book.
Beautiful. One more person, share. What are you grateful for through this Ignite learning that you've had?
I love, this is not my first time going through Ignite, but I love the fact that you can take it as many times as you'd like, and you always learn something new. And, we're not limited to just one and done.
Good. Thank you for sharing, ladies. I appreciate that. And you're 100% right. We offer Ignite typically every quarter. And it's a great opportunity for you to, if you happen to miss this one class that quarter, you can come back to it the next quarter. But it is also a good chance, because we typically rotate the facilitators around to hear different perspectives on what different people are doing. And some people, as we teach these things, we keep it really high level and we don't really get down into the weeds. You're going to find through this process, I love getting into the weeds a little bit and sharing what's working for me and what's not working. And also just being completely transparent on, if I don't know something, I'm happy to go find out and send a message out to those that had the question. But today our focus is on making offers on behalf of our buyer clients. So you're on the call. Why are some of you here? Give me a reason why some of you are here, anxious to learn about making and receiving offers.
I just want to write the best offer that I can, and know some of the tricks that people are putting in their offers for it to be accepted. And it goes hand in hand with the negotiation class that I took yesterday. So
great. And we may replicate some of that content because it does go so hand in hand. But maybe if you have questions coming off of yesterday's class, I'm totally happy to revisit anything that you guys might have from yesterday. Well, thanks for participating, Janae and Nicole. And to best prepare for this session, we're going to have several examples, like I mentioned. Can you all see my screen? It's got the Ignite slideshow on it. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so what do successful agents do every day? Well, this left-hand column, you guys have already attended classes or will attend Ignite courses for growing your business. We do need to run our business. My honest hope and the way I coach all of our clients or all of our coaching agents is to make sure that you're lead generating from 9 to 11 every day. I'm glad that we've got Ignite courses running from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock because that allows our morning time to be open. And when our morning is open, we should be focusing on lead generation. Sorry, I'm reading the chat function here. Okay, we've got a great session on negotiation, Vanessa says, and Julie says, thank you, loved it. Cool. So once you're done with your lead generation though, then we're supposed to be getting into things like administration, or if we've gone and seen a house, maybe writing an offer. In order to write an offer, you're likely going to need to show the buyer a house. So how many of you have shown people houses? I know that Nicole, you've shown somebody a house, right? And you currently have one in contract, correct?
Yes, I had 2, but we had to terminate due to inspection. So, yes, we're closing on the one next Friday.
Beautiful, congratulations.
Thanks.
And some of us are so new that maybe we haven't even shown a house, but this can be super exciting. We have classes on showing houses. If anyone's interested in bending my ear on how to maybe best show a house, then feel free to holler at me. I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to write my contact information in the chat. So you all will have that while I'm thinking about it. All right, you see my cell phone number and my email address. I want you to all feel completely free to reach out if ever you have any questions about anything that I cover here, or if ever you need me to revisit anything. We will be recording this as well so that you have access in the future to go back and review. All right. So negotiating contracts, part of that is to actually write the contract. So what we're going to cover here today is the offer process, how to prepare the offer, and how to stay organized through that process, how to write the offer, present the offer, respond to the offer, and then we'll at the end, we'll discuss any ahas that you may have had. So again, what I'm really expecting for this class is to take at least one thing away from it that you learned. And we'd love to hear what that one thing was at the end. All right. So in order to talk about the offer process, this will give you an idea of the steps that you'll take to get to the point where you're ready to negotiate the offer with the seller's agent. I'm toggling between 2 screens here, so bear with me. The offer process. Well, that's a blank screen. Let's talk about the offer process. So once we have found the perfect home, the seller starts looking forward to concluding the sale of the property. This is where the fun and the magic begins. So let's walk through the offer process. And this can be a loop. We need to understand that this can be a loop, not a linear process. And what that means is this may be something that you repeat multiple times. Why might I say that the offer process might be a loop instead of just a one-time deal? Anybody? why might writing an offer happen more than once?
It might not get accepted.
Showing multiple properties.
It may not get accepted.
May not get accepted. Why wouldn't it be accepted, Janae?
You said why, the question was, why would you write multiple offers?
Yeah, so when you write an offer, the odds of it being accepted your first time in today's market may not be as high as they were 5 or 6 years ago. Would we all agree on that?
Right. Yep.
And why is that?
Because it's a seller's market.
Meaning?
That sellers have the upper hand pretty much right now. And there's not enough inventory for the amount of people that are approved to buy.
There's a lot of competing offers.
A lot of competing offers. Can anybody tell me how many homes are active on the market right now? Single family residences? If you don't know this number, I believe this morning it was 1,151 active single family homes on the MLS. If you don't know that number, I want to empower you all to look every single day at how many active homes there are. I don't prescribe to knowing every single number or every single statistic out there, but I do prescribe to sounding like a professional by being able to enunciate how many homes we have active on the market. So when we're sitting at an all-time historic low like we currently are, the market condition, Vanessa, to your point, is a seller's market, meaning the sellers have the upper hand, meaning the sellers are going to receive typically multiple offers for their home, which is great for a seller and challenging for a buyer. The reason it's challenging for a buyer is, to your point, it might not get accepted. That first time you write an offer, you're going to put some blood, sweat, and tears into that first offer. And you're going to be a little bit stressed if you're newer to the game. I'll tell you this, I've been in it 3+ years now, and I still get a little bit on edge when I think I've got a really strong offer and it just doesn't work out. We need to create some thick skin here, and we need to make sure that we're communicating really well with our buyers and being very honest and transparent with them on the front side of things, so that when, God forbid, their offer is not accepted, that we have fully prepared them for that. So you learned some winning strategies yesterday on the negotiation process. Did you guys also cover kind of the process of writing an offer, from showing the house to contacting the selling agent to writing the physical offer?
Yeah, kind of.
So some of this might be repeat, and that's okay. So this is during this process. So let's just go through step by step. You're working with a buyer. Congratulations. During that initial buyer consultation, I'm going to go back to what I just said a couple minutes ago. It's really important that we stay completely transparent with our folks. And the reason being, we don't want any surprises to happen throughout the course of the transaction. So when I have an initial buyer consultation, I make sure to notate that, yes, it's a seller's market. Yes, we're seeing an all-time historic low. And what that means for you is that we may be writing offers on more than one home. And so when you're mentally prepared for that, there's going to be fewer surprises and maybe a little bit less heartbreak. And that's in the end of the day, when we close on the house, I would love for their first offer to be accepted, but odds are that may not happen. But at the end of the day, if we're creating that really good rapport and relationship with our buyers, it's important that we have that honesty and transparency. So we'll stop talking about that piece. But if you haven't already had these conversations with the people that you're working with, I want to encourage you to go back and revisit. Say, hey, just wanted to update you. And if you're not already, I would encourage you to at least update your buyers once a week. Pick a day of the week, whatever that day is. Maybe it's Monday. If everyone can mute their phone, somebody is in a wind tunnel, sounds like. better. Thank you. I want to encourage you all to make sure that you're following up with your buyers once a week, at least, and making sure that they're aware of what you're doing, because you're going to look like an all-star as long as you're keeping them abreast of the things that you're doing, the steps that you're taking, the lengths that you're going to try to find them a home. During that time frame, you're also going to talk about, hey, we're still at 1,150 listings, which is still super low. And we do need to be prompt. So that takes us to our next step. When your buyer does see a home that they want to see, should we wait till the weekend to go see that house?
Nope.
When should we schedule a showing for that house?
As soon as they're available.
ASAP. Absolutely. Now, a lot of people these days are writing right into the listing, please submit all offers by whatever, Saturday at 7 o'clock. Please leave open till Monday at 9 a.m. There's different things you can do when you see that. However, I would still encourage you to see the house as early as possible, because what people are also writing into their agent-to-agent comments is seller reserves the right to accept a quality offer if it comes across the wire. So what that means is, if I wait till the end of the deadline to go see the house and then have to rush to write an offer, there's a chance that the seller will have already accepted an offer by the time I get my offer in. And does anybody want that for their buyer? Absolutely not. So I want to encourage y'all, there is some strategy involved, and that comes into the negotiation class that I'm sure we covered yesterday, and we're not going to rehash all that. But I would encourage you to get offers in sooner rather than later.
Josh, it's Julie. Can I interject?
Please.
Going back to setting up showing times and talking to buyers about time is of the essence, one thing that will give you a leg up to anyone on the call about having a conversation, and something that we've started to train to on my team, is because of the lack of inventory, right, everybody, because of the amount of showings and how quickly those showing times are filling up, having proactive conversations with your A buyers about their time, their schedule, and how that looks, and letting them know as a professional that we are scouring those listings every morning when they come through and every evening. And what we're going to do, Josh, is I'm going to go ahead and proactively, if I see something that I know fits into your criteria, I'm going to go ahead and grab that time block that we've discussed worked for you. And then I'll circle back to you and let you know that I've already slated that. So what we're doing is we're having a conversation with our buyers about the best times that they're available throughout the week. And I'm going ahead and grabbing that showing before I really even have a conversation with my buyer back and forth for 3 hours. What time works for you? What time works for your wife? When can you be there? We've already had that conversation out of the gate. Make sense?
That's a great call out, Julie. And there are some tricks with the showing times as well. I know that you've actually said this. We don't have to play fair when we have buyers, right? Our job is only to look out for my buyer, right? And so if there are time blocks, why not reserve several times? Why not max out the amount of time that you do have available? So if they're offering hour-long time blocks for showings, why not take the whole hour? Yeah, it only takes 15 minutes, but you're eliminating some competition from the game. Now, on the selling side, we don't want to hear that, right? We want to make sure that we're really smart and strategic when we're doing showing time on the listing side. And we'll talk about that if you have listings. But yeah, don't worry about playing fair necessarily. I love what you said, Julie, though. Make sure that you grab the time quickly. We just had an example of this where we were trying to go back and forth with establishing a time, and they liked 6:30. Well, by the time we went back and clicked it, it had already been taken. And so I shared with my team member, I said, going forward, don't ask, just grab the time and then work it out, because you can always reschedule. What emotions, this is a good question. What emotions do your buyers go through when you're about to write an offer?
Excitement, nervousness, anxiety,
panic.
hopeless.
Lots of different opportunities. Now, Chelsea, was that you, Chelsea?
Yes.
So Chelsea literally just did this for herself, and she helps a lot of buyers. So it's not only the buyer's agent that happens to have these emotions. It's also definitely the buyer, because you're about to make the largest purchase that you've ever made in your whole life. So as the professional representative of your client, you need to make sure that you are remaining calm, reassuring, in control, and communicating everything to your client. We need to be transparent. However, we need to be transparent in a way that sometimes uses kids' gloves with our clients, because every client's different. Some clients can hear the blunt truth and move on, and some people are going to weep if they don't get the house, right? Or if they get a counter offer that's not desirable. So it's imperative that as the best fiduciary possible, and if you only take one thing away, take this away. Know how to approach each client the best way for that client. You can't just be yourself. For instance, in my life, I'm a pretty blunt, transparent, honest, and open person. I cannot approach person A the same way that I approach person B. I've got to know how to be the best fiduciary for each person. So sometimes that means changing or just tweaking your style a little bit. We do have plenty of guides that can help us keep a level head and keep organized through this process. And we're going to cover some of that stuff. So let's move forward. So now that we have an idea of how the process works, so we find a house, we find a buyer, we talk the buyer through the process, we educate them, we talk about timing of the industry right now and how quick things are moving. We talk about showing times, as Julie mentioned. We get them a showing time, we see the perfect house or 18, and then we write their offer. Awesome, we've gotten to this point. Well, before you write the offer, there's going to be some questions that you're going to want to make sure you have in line. So let's get to how to best prepare ourselves to write the offer on behalf of our buyers. So we are going to move on to preparing the offer. I'm going to pull up, if I can find it here, a checklist. Can you all see this checklist? It's called Checklist to Prepare an Offer. If anyone is looking for this, this is in the Ignite toolkit. If you go to KW Connect and search Ignite, you can find all the information that you need for all these Ignite courses. This is in that toolkit. Checklist to Prepare an Offer. Let's run through some of these. We're not going to run through them all. Obtain a buyer's pre-approval letter from their lender. I want to open this up for conversation, and I hope that we are all going to be on the same page after this conversation. When should you obtain a pre-approval letter from your buyer's lender?
ASAP.
Before you take them out to go looking for houses,
Why is that?
because I don't want to go show people houses if they're not approved.
Yeah. Is your time valuable to you? You've got a daughter, and you've got things that you'd like to be doing, right, Janae?
Yep.
And so if you were to go see a home, Chelsea, with somebody who says they're working on their pre-approval, they end up loving the home and they want to write an offer on a home, but they don't have a pre-approval letter. What good was that time? Any seller in this market would be crazy to accept an offer without proof of funds or proof of ability to purchase. So this can be done ASAP. So if you have your initial buyer consultation, part of our initial buyer consultation is always, one of the first questions comes out of our mouth is, I'm so happy for you that you want to buy a home. Have you spoken yet to a lender? And if they haven't, then have some recommendations for them. For some of you who are brand spanking new to this, I want to encourage you next week. We're going to be hearing from a lender I'm hoping to line this up from a Keller Mortgage representative to come speak to our coaching class. That's next Thursday from 1 to 2. Shameless plug. But if you don't have a lender contact, feel free to reach out. I've got some really good sources. And I think, Julie, you've probably got some great ones. Buffy's on the call. She's got some great ones. And there's some other folks here who probably have some really good resources for us. Get your pre-approval letter ASAP.
Can I say something about first-time home buyers in particular?
Yes, please.
So if I know that they're a first-time home buyer, I will take them on a showing without pre-approval. Maybe you don't agree, but
I 1,000% agree with you, Chelsea. I was going to chime in, so go ahead. It's Julie.
okay, yeah. So in that initial conversation, I asked them about pre-approval. If they do not have a pre-approval, I explained to them that I will show them the house. However, you need to know that we need to have a pre-approval letter in order to submit offers. So this house is most likely not going to be your house. And sometimes that showing is my initial consultation, and I use that showing to talk through all of the things that they need to know and about getting that pre-approval first. That's their job right now, is to go get that pre-approval before we go see more homes. It also, I think, helps, like I said, especially for first-time home buyers, they don't exactly know what they want. So they see this house online. Okay, let's go see it. Now tell me, what did you like about this house, and what were you disappointed in that you thought that you did want or you did like and now you don't?
That's a really good call out, Chelsea, because there will come a time where your first substantive contact with a buyer will be literally at a showing, where somebody calls you up and says, hey, would love to go see this house. That's a great opportunity for you to, as Chelsea just said, zero in on exactly what they're looking for, but also to establish a relationship. And when you give that person some value, like, hey, here are some great resources that you can reach out to, and I want to encourage you to reach out to these lenders. That's one different approach than what Janae and I were talking to. So if I have a buyer consultation with somebody and I'm in front of them, then I really want to encourage that person to get pre-approved. It doesn't take much time, and it proves that they're serious. One thing that also proves a person's serious, though, is wanting to actually physically go out and spend their time looking at a home. So good call out. Thanks for speaking up, Chelsea.
Of course.
Moving down the checklist, other things that we can do to prepare an offer. Produce a competitive market analysis to educate and inform your buyers. If you've not done a CMA before, they're not complicated. Vanessa, I know you said you were learning some of the MLS features this morning. Hopefully that's one of those things that you're learning. If not, feel free to holler at me. I can definitely quickly show you one. CMAs are important. And I will say, kind of zeroing in on the market of the moment, CMAs, we have to use them kind of with a grain of salt. Our job is to get our buyers into homes that they want, and hopefully we can get them in for a good value. We do also have to understand that just because the home sold 3 years ago for $75,000 to $100,000 less than it sold now, does not mean you get to offer less. And I'm sure Julie talked about this in negotiations yesterday. We cannot take CMAs as the end all be all.
Well, no, Josh, and to your point, I will tell you, and this goes back to solidify what you spoke about working with different personalities. We also work with that personality who needs to see the numbers, right? So the CMA are those numbers, but you have to speak to the fact that ultimately this is what the neighborhood has sold for over the last 3 months, 6 months, or a year. However, right now, let's look at the percentages of the list to sell ratio. You can get them there, Josh, to get them where you need them to start thinking. And then I also say, you know, like you said, with a grain of salt, understand that right now we're in a climate where the list price is the starting point. But that CMA gives us value in numbers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the real challenge, especially like Chelsea with first-time home buyers. They get on HGTV and they see, you know, bargaining and negotiation and trying to get in for, you know, a lower amount than list price. And that was the case even a year ago in certain situations. Unless a home's been on the market for longer than, you know, a month these days, that might be a challenge to get in under list price. But that being said, we are talking about building a business and a foundation that you can work from for years to come, not just this market of the moment. So in, who knows, maybe in a year, two, maybe it takes 10 years to get back to a balanced market to where we actually can run CMAs and try to get really great value. We still want to do it. It's good for our buyers to know that we're putting that effort in. Other things here, review tax records. Does anybody know where we can go for tax records?
Auditor site.
Yep. So if you're in Franklin County, just type Franklin County Auditors and save that as a bookmark. I find that I use that quite frequently. And every county has its own auditor site. Sometimes it's a little challenging to find which county things are in, but I trust that you'll be able to find that information. Ensure that the property is still available. That's probably pretty important, especially with the market of the moment. So before spending any time preparing an offer, even if your MLS indicates the listing is active, contact the listing agent to let them know that your client is considering making an offer. What days of the week, pop quiz, what days of the week is this piece here most important? Making sure that the property is still available. What day of the week might something show active, but really not be?
Saturday.
Monday.
I would say Monday, Sunday and Monday are the top two. And the reason being, a lot of times the seller has requested all offers be in by maybe Saturday night, Sunday morning, and that they will review all offers by, a lot of times what I'm seeing is Monday afternoon. Well, odds are, if you're going to go see a home on Monday, they've already got all their offers in. They may have already even agreed to terms and signed a contract, and they just haven't taken it off active status on the MLS. So super duper important, prior to wasting time and energy and stress, make sure that the home is still available. When speaking with the listing agent, build rapport and gather as much information about the seller and property as you can. I would say that all of these things are pretty important, but the one thing that I've found has helped me win deals is this piece right here. Why is it important to build rapport with the other side?
To build trust that you'll get it done.
Amen. There's nothing more important than trusting that the other side can deliver. And you can sometimes do that just honestly through picking up the phone and saying, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Amanda with Keller Williams Excel Realty, and we're gonna be placing an offer. And I just wanted to reach out and ask you, what would a great offer look like in your seller's eyes? I like that question because it's open-ended. And Julie, you've been doing this a long time. I'm sure you guys probably talked about this in negotiation as well. But I love that question because it's open-ended and it gives the other side time to just share. And then when I ask that question, I normally just shut up and I allow there to be awkward silence. Reason being, we are humans and creatures of habits, and we don't like active silence. And so when there's that awkwardness, people will just keep talking. And odds are when they keep talking, they're going to share more information than they maybe necessarily want to. And your job as the buyer's agent is to get as much information as possible. So as what I tell all my clients is I want all the cards on the table for us so that we have all the information and we can make the best decision possible for ourselves. So when you just shut up and let them talk, the other side, the seller's agent, odds are they're going to share something that might really be helpful for you in winning that deal. Also, building rapport, it just builds trust, and especially for future transactions. Let's say you just don't get this one. What could it hurt to say, hey, you know, I know we didn't get this one, but I would love to work with you in the future. It builds a bridge that you can hopefully climb across in the future. Any questions about building rapport? I think I saw some chat here. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Good, good, good. Sparkle, this is my life. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, moving on. Ask questions of the listing agent to discover what's important to the seller. We just talked about that. What are some critical things that we need to make sure that we know about the seller side? We want to make sure that we know what's a good closing time frame, right? We want to know if possession is important to them. What else? What else might be important to know, guys?
If they're looking for offers with like an as-is clause.
There you go.
Are they allowing escalation clauses,
Good one.
awaiting any sort of probate approval or anything like that?
Good stuff.
Hi,
If
this is
they're looking for a gap, appraisal gap,
Any expectations on higher, like earnest money or higher commitments there?
If they would accept closing costs. I know not in this market, but it's good, still a good question.
Yeah, that's a great call out because you're going to have buyers every now and then who maybe need closing cost assistance. So that's a valid question. What about, do you already have offers? How many offers? I love to know how many I'm up against at the time, because if I'm up against one other offer, okay, I can probably wane a little bit of information from that. If I'm up against 10 offers, then all gloves are off. Who knows? We just need to submit ultimately our highest and best. So these are good questions, guys. Thank you. Inquire about activity on the property. So how many showings have you guys had? You can sometimes cheat to win on this one as well, because if they are limiting the amount of showings, or if they aren't allowing overlapping showings, then you can see if they've got a full docket. Obtain a seller's disclosure statement. So the RPD, more and more, guys, I'm seeing RPDs absent from listings. Are you guys, those of you who are showing homes, are you seeing this more and more?
Yes.
If we're doing our best, if we're putting our best foot forward for our buyers, is it not important to know the material, the defects with the home that we can't see ahead of
Absolutely.
writing an offer?
Yep.
Absolutely. So ask for that before you take time writing an offer. Who knows? Maybe there's a foundation wall that's crumbling that we didn't know about.
Can I interject here, Josh?
Please.
If you don't see an RPD online and you're not getting a response from the listing agent, you can put a contingency review in your additional terms and condition for them to provide an RPD within a certain amount of acceptance and a 2-day review. I wouldn't be afraid of doing that and convoluting the offer. Most of the times agents have just rushed to get it on the MLS. They've forgotten to attach it, or they send it right over. So when we want to make our offers clean, don't not write an offer because you don't have an RPD. There's a very simple clause you can use, and I'm happy to mail the one out my team uses.
Yeah, and if you've been through the house, odds are you're going to be able to get a pretty good feel for if there's going to be anything crazy wrong with the house. So good call out, Julie. Appreciate that. But moral of the story, when preparing an offer.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Hey, Julie, it does address it already in the contract. That if it
You know,
wasn't
Jack, I
provided at the
couldn't
time of the,
remember.
yeah, if it's not provided at the time of the contract, there's a paragraph in there that they have to provide it within so many days and that kind of thing.
We always reiterate it, but good call out to me, Jack. I couldn't remember with the new one. I just go in autopilot.
It's 3 days too. It's 3 days. They have 3 days after acceptance of the contract.
Julie, there's only
But it never
14
hurts to be
pages.
thorough, Julie.
There's
Julie's
only-
definitely thorough. It never hurts to be thorough.
Yeah, only 14 pages of legalese. I'm surprised you haven't memorized all that yet.
I mean,
And it changes every quarter, it feels like.
every single quarter.
All right. Well, we just talked about preparing the offer. One thing that I will say is if we took one thing away from this, it's that you should reach out to the other side, establish conversation, establish rapport, ask questions, do your due diligence, put all the cards on the table for your client. Once you got all the cards on the table, then it comes to this next piece, which is writing the offer. One other thing that I'll say, and those of you who have listings can share with me your feelings on this. I don't typically call the other agent until after I've gotten through the house and said, yes, we do want to write an offer on this. I get a lot of calls when we're on the listing side from agents who haven't even seen the place. They ask every question under the sun, and then they don't even write an offer. So my opinion is call the person and start preparing the offer once you've actually been in the home and seen it. Don't waste both your time with a 20-minute phone call that ends up being fruitless. Just my 2 cents. We're gonna move on to writing the actual offer. And this is where a lot of Julie's class really comes into this one. Writing the offer, it's all strategy, right? And so with strategy, there's that opportunity to negotiate. Having an honest and transparent conversation with your clients. Again, this is where communication will make the difference. To say, hey, here's where we stand. Here's all the cards that are on the table. How do we want to approach this situation? Well, let's run through this checklist. And again, if you're newer and maybe haven't been through this is a good opportunity for you to freshen up on your skills. We also do typically offer contract writing classes, or at least introduction to contract classes. And we will definitely let you guys know when those are being offered. The checklist to write an offer. These are the things that we're just basically going to fill out. So we're going to go through them. And as we go through them, we'll talk strategy. Sound good? Good. Checklist to write an offer. The price and the terms. And for those of you who have never had to write an offer, I'm going to show you real quickly what an offer, what the actual contract looks like. We use .loop here. Capital Partners uses DocuSign. Computer's acting a little sluggish, sorry. This is a property disclosure. This is what we were just referencing. If you haven't seen a property disclosure, it's 5 pages and denotes anything that is a defect with the known defect with the home that we might not be able to see with the naked eye. Agency disclosure. These are things that you should be presenting with your offer. Agency disclosure discloses who's working for who. Sometimes you'll see these when writing an offer. If a person is on a team, if they're a part of a team, there may be a team agency disclosure. And then we get to the purchase contract. So what you'll see here, it's like I said, it's 15 pages of legalese, but it's all aimed at protecting you and your buyer and the seller and the listing agent, making sure that things are on the up and up and done legally. At the top, you'll see an address. I'm not going to go through this 100%, but what we're going to start by talking about is purchase price. So price and terms. Consult with your buyer to arrive at the most logical offering based on the CMA and items below. So when we're talking about purchase price, there are going to be offers that they just want your highest and best. So Chelsea asked or mentioned earlier, will the seller consider escalation clauses? We might talk about escalation clauses here shortly, but if not, they just want your highest and your best. And so if all the cards have been out on the plate, laid out on the table, and you know the facts of the matter are that they don't have any offers in yet, and it's been listed for 5 days, you're going to approach that situation with price a little differently than if that listing has only been active 1 day and they've already got 10 offers, right? You and your buyer need to come to terms with what they're most comfortable doing. And this is where you get to include your expertise, giving them the facts, but also some experiences that you've encountered in the past. It says price and terms. I want to go back to the contract. Terms, additional terms and conditions. This box is relatively small. If ever you have more verbiage than you need, you'll just type a little thing in here that says, please see attached additional terms. And you can write as much as you want. But in a typical offer these days, what are some additional terms that we're seeing written into contracts?
Appraisal delta, Josh.
Appraisal, yep, appraisal gap, or sometimes they're just waiving appraisal altogether. Real quickly, I want to mention this. I'm not just gonna assume that everybody knows what that means. Appraisal gap. So if, let's say in this situation, you see a contract for 201. Well, let's just say it only appraises at 200,000. There's a $1,000 gap between the agreed upon purchase price and what the lender is going to give the buyer. So sometimes people will write into the contract, we will bridge that gap by up to X number of dollars. So sometimes it's, let's just say it's $1,000. Well, perfect. The contract states that it was 201, it appraised at 200, but you said you're going to bring 1,000, so the purchase price will still be 201. Sometimes people waive appraisal completely, meaning that they'll pay whatever they agree to purchase the home at. In order to do that, your buyer must have the ability to bring funds to the table out of their own pocket. That needs to be talked about prior to placing the offer. You need to be on the same page with your buyer. You don't need to know everything about their finances. You just need to know that they can bring money to the table in case the need should arise. Great call. Thank you. What are some other additional terms that we're seeing lately?
Waiving remedy.
I get this question all the time. Well, if I waive the remedy, do I still get an inspection?
Yes.
You can write this in here. Actually, it'll auto-populate on .loop through us. If you type in inspection, it'll auto-populate a clause that says, buyer is still entitled to an inspection. They just won't ask for a remedy. They can still walk away if the inspection is subpar to the buyer. So it allows the buyer some protection, meaning you're still going to get a third party to have eyes on the faults with the home, and you're not going to ask for them to fix anything. However, if the inspection turns out to be just too rough for the buyer's liking, they can still walk away and get their earnest money back if that's a thing. Lately, I've seen people waive inspection completely. Do I recommend that for my buyers? Absolutely not. And I would strongly discourage anyone on this call from ever saying, just waive inspection altogether. You can be calculated. You could always have an inspector walk through with you at your first showing, I guess, if you've got that leverage. But I would discourage anyone from mitigating completely. Julie writes down in the chat, bring funds over and above their cash to close % down. Have them prepared to show that delta, big word of the day, gap amount proof, as well as have their pre-qual if it is a substantial amount. Yeah, a lot of sellers want to see proof of ability to afford that appraisal gap. What other additional terms are we seeing? If you guys aren't writing these things down, I want to encourage you to, because these are what are creating winning contracts. And I'm sure Julie talked about it all yesterday. What other additional terms? Give me one more, somebody.
Can I just add something real quick about the inspection thing, Josh? I'm so sorry to keep talking.
Oh, I love it.
I don't think it's common, but you could do non-refundable EMD.
Yes. Julie, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I agree with you that it's rare and far between, and we have to be very, very careful and very seasoned at having those conversations. We have done that several times this year, but we also as a team have a form that we use in our brokerage administrative docs over and above the brokerage's forms, that when we go down that route, we do kind of make them say that it was against our advice. So we're covered. So, you know, be very careful and very documentive when you're having those verbal conversations, right? Even if it's just in a follow-up to our conversation email, that you have something in writing to go back to.
And this goes back to what Buffy mentioned on our last monthly meeting. There's a hold harmless document that I would highly encourage us to be filling out. I'm sure, Julie, that's probably kind of what you're mentioning. Hold harmless, basically saying, hey, we covered it. It was your decision not to. You can't hold me. You can't say it was my fault, basically. Cool. More checklist items to writing an offer. So your price and your terms, seller's disclosure. So this is where you'd fill out your RPD and have it initialed on each page and have it signed on the bottom. Your buyers need to review that. Conveyances. So what will come with the home and what won't? You all took the classes, you all passed your tests, so you kind of know what typically will stay. However, if the buyers just fell in love with the blinds, or sorry, the drapes that matched, you might ask for that. Now in negotiations these days, I would discourage us from asking for anything above and beyond the things that are already attached to the home. We don't want to look like we're being super picky, but this is an example of a conveyance. Washer and dryer, for instance, if it states in the agent to agent that the washer and dryer convey, then those things would be written into the contract. And if I show you where that is, so the first part of the contract talks about price and then funding. Then we get down into what's going to come with. So in section 5, I have the same thing I write with every contract. All fixtures viewed in the home on the date, including all kitchen appliances, light fixtures, and window hardware. Those are the bare minimum things. But if there's something that's noted in the agent to agent that says these items will be excluded, make sure you write them down there. It shows you've done your due diligence. It shows that you know how to read and follow instructions. I can't tell you the number of offers that I get that don't follow the simple basic instructions that I wrote into the agent to agent. And it drives me crazy. And honestly, we don't review those offers as lovingly because they couldn't follow basic instructions. So if the agent can't follow basic instructions, what does that say about the agent? Or what does it say about the buyer's willingness to concede to what we as a seller wants? So think about the other side when you're writing offers. Going back to the checklist, earnest money. I get this question being a productivity coach. What do I do with earnest money? Do I need to have the earnest money in my hand when I'm writing this offer? No, you don't. You can get it within 2 to 3 days after you get the contract accepted, or sorry, within 3 days. Or there's another line on the contract, let me show you, that says you will submit the earnest money 3 days after y'all agree to remedy period. So whichever one you go with, make sure you get the money in. Now, where does that money go? It comes to our physical office in most situations and is deposited into our non-trust or non-interest building trust account. Time for seller acceptance. I'm sure, Julie, you probably had conversations about this, but your offer will expire. When do you want it to expire? Do you want it to be super aggressive if you're the first offer in and you know you've got a strong offer? Wink, wink, yes. Or do you need to follow the rules and say offer is open until Monday at noon? Make sure you notate this. This is on the, I think it's the 13th page. Let me go back here. Item 16, duration of offer shall be acceptance through. Don't just put the date, put a time. Because if you just put the date, then you're leaving it wide open until midnight the next day or whatever. And then you're like up till midnight worrying and stressing. Don't stress yourself out. Financing terms. So is it going to be conventional, FHA, VA, cash, etc.? Buyer pre-approval letter. Make sure you include that when you're submitting your offer. Loan approval, closing date, home warranty. Don't recommend asking for home warranties if you're up against 10 other offers. Honestly, like, is your $400 home warranty or $500 home warranty? It's a drop in the bucket compared to winning the contract, right? I'm not talking about negotiations though, sorry. Repair limits, if there's like a dollar amount that you want to max out on when asking for things to be fixed. Any special clauses or contingencies? Let's talk about escalation clauses here in a second, and then a cover letter. I want to give you an example of a cover letter because when submitting an offer, this can, doesn't always, this can put your offer above others. So let's talk about escalation clauses real quick. Can anyone in a couple sentences explain what an escalation clause is? I trust y'all.
That your offer, that your buyers are willing to go X amount of dollars over the next highest offer up to a maximum amount.
Yeah. And there's a real easy form for this. If you're in Dotloop, and I'm sure DocuSign, there's a template already pre-made. It's called an escalation clause addendum, and you just fill it out. There's 3 spots to fill out. It's what's your base price offer, how much will you beat the next best price by, and then what's your ceiling, meaning what's your cap offer. Again, not talking about negotiations, but make sure you think this through. It doesn't make sense to offer $200,000 and you'll go all the way up to $201,000, right? Prepare your clients on the front side and make sure that your gap that you're beating the next best offer by is substantial enough to make a difference. Don't just make it $200. You want to really separate yourself from the next.
Josh, I agree. And we didn't go into depth in that negotiating yesterday, but what I would say just, and I'm sure Jack would probably agree with this. I think be careful with escalation clauses. I think they've seen their time. And right now, because of the market we find, the aggressiveness that we find ourselves in, you know, really encourage your buyers, you guys. If they're willing to pay 10 grand more, just pay 10 grand more. Put your best foot out there. To be honest, we put offer instructions on the MLS. We won't even look at offers with escalation clauses. It's just, you know, if you get 20 offers and 10 of them have escalation clauses, it's very hard to go through those. I personally think that that ship has sailed 5 years ago. I'm not saying there's not a time for that, Josh, but be very careful. I would encourage buyers just to be strong out of the gate, period. Sellers, I think, appreciate that.
And I agree. And it's a way to potentially save your buyer a little bit of extra money.
No, I agree. I understand.
So there's a time and a place for it. I personally love them. So
Julie, I agree with you 100%.
Okay, sorry, Josh. This is good
It's
banter,
okay.
Josh.
So you
Good
guys are
banter.
running successful businesses, and I'm doing all right as well. And there's different approaches to things, and there's no right or wrong way to it. And just shining a spotlight on all of our options. If you feel like you're on the, you don't quite know what to do, then reach out to me or Julie or Jack. We'd be happy to talk you through what might be best in that certain situation. All right. So, cover letter.
Josh?
Yes.
Sorry. I just had a quick question back on the earnest money. My understanding was that recently we're told that the earnest money should be written out to the title company right out of the gate. Is that changed? Is that
not here? So at Excel, we have not been pushed to do that. At Capital Partners, has Lori told you to do that?
I thought that was the discussion in one of our sales meetings. So if I'm wrong about that, I need to know. For anybody that's at Capital Partners, do you know the answer to that?
I can talk to Lori and see if that's something that they're pushing. I don't know.
I think it had something to do with risk, that they wanted it to go to the title company directly.
There are certain agent-to-agent comments that I've seen that says, please make earnest money directly to title company, whatever. Right. It's all antiquated at the end of the day, and 99% of the time you're going to get your earnest money back anyways. I don't know why we still do it here. It's, in my opinion, but it is
Josh,
by the rules.
Josh, it's Buffy, actually. There's not any definitive policy, or there has not been a policy change related to earnest money in the title company. I think it's really more of a exercise in convenience. Nobody wants to have to drop it off and then request a check. To your point, most of the time the buyer gets it back anyway. And so I think it's really more a convenience factor versus a policy situation.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that. All right. Last thing we talked about was a cover letter. Now, this Ignite says that a cover letter should basically spell out the major bullet points of an offer. And I agree. I think you guys can do that. You can do that through an email or an actual typed out PDF. Great. One of the things that also you might consider is an actual letter from the buyer to the seller. Now, some sellers, agents say right up front, hey, we're not going to bring emotion into this. We're not going to bring the letters into play. Some do, some love it. Here's an example of one that got really good feedback and actually won these people the house. It's got a picture of the person. Again, you got to be careful. We don't want there to be any reason to ever be accused of stereotyping. But when you're not playing fair as the buyer's agent, you pull out all the stops and do what you can. It's a personal letter about that specific home. It's very important. Don't just submit a generic letter that you've written out and extended to 10 different offers, right? Have them actually write a heartfelt note out and pull at the heartstrings. Again, I'm not talking about negotiations. I shouldn't be doing this, but don't be afraid to include a cover letter. I saw something come through the chat. Let's see what this says. Fair housing. Yes. So that's why a lot of people don't want to read your letters for fair housing laws. Thank you. All right, where are we? Well, now we're supposed to change over. So now that you know what goes into preparing the offer and what goes into actually writing the offer, we're then supposed to jump into command and actually follow the steps and get through into command. Before we go that route, what questions do we have about offers, maybe offer strategy and the actual execution of writing the offer? If no questions, then I'll paraphrase this piece here by saying communication throughout the process with your buyers is super, super critical, right? So just be open and honest. Give them your perspective, give them your experiences with what you're seeing in the market, and ultimately try to write the stiffest offer that you can right up front. Creating the offer in command. Let's see here. Real quickly, I'm just gonna very quickly come to this. If you're on a team, odds are you have an administrative assistant that's helping you with this piece. I do myself, so I'm not exactly super proficient at it, but it's at the same time, it's very easy. So get on a command, go to opportunities, boom. We need to create a new opportunity. Where is that? Create opportunity. Opportunity type, let's say we've got a buyer. Client. Let's just, for this practice, let's say it's me. Custom tags, estimated closing dates. So you're writing the offer in, let's say it's gonna close in 35 days. Okay, type that date in here. Budget, what's the offer for? What's the commission rate gonna be? Type in all this stuff, create the offer, and then start dragging and dropping across the actual transaction. I'm not going to do this for sake of time. I hope you guys are all cool with that. If you have questions about opportunities, I want to give you the opportunity to join Rachel every week. She has classes on all the technology that we have. I don't think it's the best spending of the rest of the time we have here to talk about that. All right. Now, you've written the offer. Congratulations. Now it comes time to present the offer. Notify the listing agent. So this is step by step. Notify the listing agent of the incoming offer. Send the offer to the agent. Set a deadline. Create the offer in command and consult with your buyer when the seller responds. So let's talk about notifying the listing agent of the incoming offer. Why is that important?
I would say so they know who you are and who's sending the offer.
And they'll know to go and look for it because it could just be sitting in email or sitting in spam, and you just want to make sure they know.
And to make sure that the property is still on the market.
Yeah, it's pretty important that if you've just spent your time writing the offer, like, it'd be good to know that the other side actually saw it. There have been times where I've written offers and let the other side know that, hey, I just submitted an offer. Please confirm you've received it. And they send me back a note saying, I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
There's been times where it'll go into their spam folder. And I don't know why it does that, but had I not reached out and notified them, they would have never known and they would have never seen our offer. That's pretty scary to me. So it's important, and you can do this whatever way you find works best, whether that's an email, as long as they respond. And be diligent. Don't just send a text message and have it not be responded to and say, okay, well, I did my job. I said that I sent the offer. Well, they never confirmed that they received it. So until I receive confirmation that the other side has received my offer, I nitpick the crap out of them until I hear. Now I'll give them enough time. Like I'll send a text message. Normally most agents are probably expecting your offer anyway, so they're pretty quick to respond. But if a couple hours goes by, I am picking up the phone. If they still don't answer, then another hour goes by, I'm picking up the phone again. I'm doing whatever it takes to make sure that my offer has been seen. And also that they know what the deadline is. In a typical market, there is a deadline, and it's not just us acquiescing to what the seller wants. We normally have like, I try to keep it pretty aggressive. So maybe it's tomorrow at noon. Please make sure that you confirm that you received, and you note that our offer expires tomorrow at noon. There have been agents who don't bother paying attention to the offer deadline. Our offer actually expires, and then they want to negotiate with us. Well, that's not technically how it's supposed to work. Janae, do you have a question?
I do. Is it kind of cheesy to put a read receipt on your email? So you'll know they opened it up?
Yeah, I've never done that. I don't, anything helps, but I like to hear directly from the other side that they've received it.
Okay.
The read receipt doesn't necessarily, like, what if they have an admin and the admin just opened the email and quickly moved to the next email?
That is true. Okay.
Cool. So any other questions about presenting the offer? And guys, if this is your first offer, don't hesitate at all. And I want to encourage you, please reach out to me if you're in the coaching program before you, even before you submit, have me review it. I've done that for a couple people. I'm totally happy to. I want to make sure that you've got the strongest offer possible and that you've hit all these check boxes. We want to make sure that there's no questions from the other side when your offer is presented, and ultimately that your offer hopefully will get accepted. And even if you have written offers before, if you've got questions about best strategy, we're all a team here. And unless I'm going up against you, I want you to win.
Hey, Josh, could I add something?
Yes.
I just wanted to say, when I call to say I'm sending over an offer, I like to go through the highlights of the offer too. You know, what a strong buyer my person is, the lender, and just the bullet points that I've also emailed them, I like to add in conversation.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's great.
That reminded me of another good point, Connie, Josh, that I could mention that people could discuss before presenting an offer. A lot of times right now we have buyers that are qualified to go conventional, Josh, but they choose to go FHA because of a better program. So make sure that if you're presenting an offer that is an FHA qualified buyer, that you let that agent know this buyer is also qualified to go conventional, but has chosen to go FHA for these reasons. And make sure that you have your lender reach out, or the lender knows they might be getting a call. It's just one way, you know, to again, keep in communication with the listing agent, because that is the case sometimes, as you know, Josh.
Yeah, I love that. And that goes hand in hand with having that conversation and building that rapport with the other agent. And one thing I'll say also is, when I submit an offer, if my guys have wiggle room, I will sometimes say, hey, don't let us lose this. If there's anything that we can do that you're not seeing, odds are we can tackle that. So don't be afraid to give me a call with anything else that you'd like to see if we didn't meet all your expectations. And sometimes you get the call back and say, hey, if you just fix this one thing, I think we got a deal here.
Absolutely. And we talked about that yesterday, Josh, when we present our offers. We kind of do a breakdown called finer points in an email. And like even closing a possession, if I haven't heard from an agent, I'll put in parentheses, can be further flexible here, can be further flexible here. You know, I'm just trying, even if I've had a conversation, I'm reiterating every way I can to that listing agent what our further flexibility is, especially if you haven't had great communication with them, because understand they may be dealing with 90 phone calls, 90 text messages, 90 emails, and they're just trying to keep their head above water too. So don't take that emotionality of you getting frustrated by lack of communication and let that channel through to your buyer, right? Understand and put yourself in the position of what that listing agent may be going through at any given moment.
Amen. One last thing that I put up on the screen here is just to review your offer before submitting. I always go through and fill everything out. Then I go through it again. And then I normally take a minute, scroll to the top, refresh my eyes, and then review it a third time. I don't want to look like a ding dong submitting an offer where I missed, like this one right here says, be sure that the address is for the correct house. That would be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Or make sure that your price is filled out. I have received an offer where the person put a $301,000 instead of $201,000. And I was the bigger man. I said, hey, I'm assuming you meant to write 201. And they appreciated that, obviously. But just make sure your offer is correct. So after we presented, we're gonna turn around and go to the seller side. I know we don't all have listings, and some of us are mainly buyer's agents, but I think it's important to know what the next steps are for once we've received offers on the other side. So receiving the offers, we have three options. We either, one, counter the offer. That leads to negotiation, which I'm sure we talked about yesterday. Two, we accept the offer. Yay, we begin the contract to close process. Or three, we reject the offer. Maybe it was such a low ball offer that our seller felt like it was a smack in the face. So we say no go. Well, from there, we go one of three different routes, right? The most important thing through this whole process is, now that we're representing the seller on this side, is to make sure that we are communicative with everything that everything that we're hearing. I like to include these days a multiple offer spreadsheet. And this is just something that I've made and our team uses for when we have a listing. It's just a simple Google document, a Google Drive document. And the reason we use that is because it's visible to our sellers in real time. And they can see us in there adjusting when we get a new offer. I can normally then just send a text if we're receiving a lot of offers. Like if we receive 12 offers, I don't want to pick up the phone and call them every time we get an offer, right? So instead I'll just say, hey, just received another one, updating the spreadsheet. Let's reconvene at 3 o'clock today. And so it gives them a chance to get in there and see what's what. I always write the major finer points, like Julie was saying, things like purchase price, loan type, earnest money, anything additional terms and conditions. I never write the buyer's name or the agent's name because I don't want there to be any question of fair housing. So if you have a multiple offer spreadsheet, or if you're considering offers and you're working with your seller, I would encourage you to not worry about the name of the person buying. Let's see, man, I think we're coming to an end here. I want to make sure I cover everything. So I think one thing that we've said a lot of through this whole process is, regardless of which side you're on, you have got to be a great communicator. And don't be afraid to over communicate, as long as you're not going to the other end of the spectrum and under communicating. When you under communicate, you are writing yourself off for that person's future transactions. This is a relationship that you're building. So when you over communicate, you're showing them that you're worth the money, and that you're great to work with, and that you're working, period. When you under communicate, who knows what you're doing, right? So I want to encourage you all to be great communicators, and do what I just shared with you. Establish follow-up touch points. Establish times to reconnect. So if you are getting offers and you know it's going to be a busy day, don't pick up the phone every time. Just say, hey, let's reconnect at 3 o'clock, and then we'll plan another call at 6 o'clock. Does that sound fair to you? And then also, don't be afraid to say, hey, what works best for you in terms of communication for like quick hitters? Can I just text you? Is that okay? But my clients always know where we stand with our transactions, because we are very good at communicating. And that's why we're only 3 years in with my team. We're already getting repeat business because people appreciate the way we approach that. All right, it looks like we are pretty much at a wrap here. I want to open it up for some Q&A. While we've got some big dogs on the call, what questions do y'all have for submitting offers or receiving offers?
Hey Josh, I have a question about representing sellers when they're, at the point to where they've received a lot of offers. Are the listing agents, are they contacting maybe just the top few offers, those agents, to see if there's anything else they'd like to add to their offer, or, one more shot at a best and final?
Sometimes, yeah, it all depends on the agent. I prefer to be as minimal as possible. Like, hey, establish a deadline and stick to it if that's what you're going to do. And I'm probably going to, most people these days are getting enough offers in to say, let's just pick one. We don't typically have to go back and forth negotiating with the top one too often. But it'll happen. The one thing that I do a lot that I would encourage y'all, if you have a listing, you're gonna have an offer that will likely stand out above the rest that you love. Okay, great. Your work's not done once you sign that contract. You have got to do your due diligence for your seller and try to get backup offers. I encourage at least 2 backup offers, because what's going to happen if their financing falls through or they lose their job due to COVID, or, 2020 just happened. All kinds of crazy stuff happened. If I hadn't have had backup offers on a couple properties, it would have been a really bad deal, because we would have had it gone on back to the market, and it would have just been, there's always a stain with a home when it comes back on the market, right? So let's avoid that. Let's get backup offers. So you may be contacted if you had a really strong offer to potentially be a backup. A good agent will communicate with all the other people that offered and not just send a generic, hey, thanks for your offer, we didn't pick yours, bye. That in my experience, that kind of burns a bridge a little bit. Like, I don't want to work with a person who, they know I took my time to write this offer. Like, could they at least shoot me a personalized text or something? So good question, Brendan. Typically, there's not a whole lot anymore back and forth that I'm seeing. If, especially to Julie's point, if you just bring your best right up front, then what else is there really to negotiate?
Got it. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, let's go. Let's get 2 or 3 ahas. Anyone have any ahas through this class here? Anyone learn anything at all during this class?
I really like checklists, and I actually printed those off, so that was really helpful for me because I'm a visual person. So I really liked having the checklist in hand when you were going over them and kind of making my own notes on those checklists.
I love that. Yeah, make it your own, because you might have more that you'd like to do to go above and beyond. Make it something that the best checklist is the checklist that we'll use. So make it one that you'll use. Great call out.
Yeah, I enjoy learning about the forms, the hold harmless form and the escalation clause form.
Cool. Anything else, guys? Anything else? We had several people jump off, but one good takeaway was looking every day to see how many are active daily. So that's just a quick nugget to make you sound like the local expert for sure. I would encourage you all to do that. Get on the MLS daily. Jacqueline, you have your hand raised?
I like the idea of the personalized cover letter. I think that's a good idea. That's a good aha for me.
Cool. Janae, you asked, where do you find that? What were you asking about?
The number of how many houses are available. I mean, I see it's all broke down. Did you just add it up, or
No. Just go to here. I got office hours starting in a minute here, but I'm going to share my screen. If you get on the MLS, go to quick search, go to status,
Oh, okay,
click
status.
active, and it'll show
Okay.
you, oh, we've had 11 new listings in the last little bit here, 1162. Make you sound like you are super up to date on things, and really it just took me, what, 3 seconds?
Okay. Thank you.
That's all active though, Josh. Be careful. That's not just single family homes, unless you do your subtype. You might want to show them that too. Because yesterday when I did a CMA, there were 962 active single family homes and built to suit, because I wasn't looking at condos.
Cool. Yeah, whatever your person, you speak to your specific buyer, I guess, and you'll sound like a pro. Another question, Jacqueline? Or hand raise?
No, I didn't take my hand down. Sorry.
No problem. Well, guys, thank you so much for jumping in.
Thanks, Josh.
Took something away. Thank you guys for participating and giving your 2 cents. You're awesome. And let's go kill it. Go do some lead gen. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.